Hi everyone, a very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Monisha Nair and I lead engagement product as well as international expansion for VAs. The session today will focus on Hack and Grow, an initiative powered by VAs. This gives an opportunity to young tech professionals to showcase their talent at solving complex problems. This hackathon will help them find career opportunities and will help them in progressing ahead in their careers. In this specific edition, Magnit is partnering with us to host a hackathon hiring drive to find 20 plus high performing developers. A few general announcements before I introduce Mohan to all of you. Please do join the Slack channel for any queries that you have, and some of them we will address here as well. You will you would have received the link already, both via mail as well as WhatsApp. In case you cannot find it, we will be putting it in the comment section here. But please don't start coding before 19th January. You will receive an email tomorrow with the submission form, and please make note of it as you would need to submit it in the GitHub along with your code through the Google form. You will also need to submit all your solutions latest by 20th January, end of day. All relevant hackathon details, including the problem statement, submission, and tech guidelines, can be found on the hackathon registration page. Please go through all the instructions thoroughly. Our team will put up the registration link in the comment section again for your ready reference. And the problem statement for the hackathon is available now in the landing page. So please do see that. All right. So now coming back, let me warmly welcome Mohan Natarajan, who currently serves as the CTO for Magnit Global. Mohan has over 3 decades of industry experience with marquee companies like SGI, Cisco, Motorola, Brocade, and Salesforce. Before Magnit, he was the SVP of Infrastructure Development at Salesforce. To add to his impressive list of achievements, he holds several patents in distributed computing and networking. He is extremely passionate about technology and scalable systems in particular. Thank you so much for joining today, Mohan. And I know it's 2:30 your time, and thanks for making out time for this important initiative.
Awesome. Thanks, Manisha. Pleasure to be here. And hi, everybody. How many people are we on the call, Manisha? Do we know?
I think people are just joining in. I am not able to see it on our chat window right now, but okay, there are about I think 20 people right now, and it will increase as we go along, Mohan.
Awesome. Hi, guys. Pleasure to be along with all of you. And when Manisha says it's 2:30, it's 2:30 in the morning. I'm taking the call from California. And, quickly in terms of what my experience has been, I've been with Magnet for the last 3 months. And prior to this, I was with Salesforce, where I was basically the senior vice president for all the infrastructure development. And so when I say all infrastructure development, it means, having a platform on which today about 50,000 developers write and basically, deploy their code on, which takes it from anywhere from Kubernetes to, ingress gateways, egress gateways, load balancers, edge computing, entire CI/CD pipelines, progressions through the Kubernetes environment that we used to provide, and that environment is called Hyperforce. So I was with Salesforce for 7 years. Prior to that, I was with Cisco. I've done a couple of billion-dollar products right from the scratch, both of them with Cisco. And but every product that I've been associated with has seen the desk of the user, if I might say so. At Cisco, I was responsible for the high-end data center boxes, which today Magnet uses in some of our private data centers, by the way. And then I was with Brocade, done a couple of startups. I did one startup where I raised 50 million in capital, and we sold the company. So those VCs don't hate me. So authored several patents, more than 20 at Firetide. And then prior to that, I was with Motorola. Did another startup in the optical networking space. Was with Cisco again for 4 years, where I did ATM frame relay circuit emulation. So most of the networking technologies I've done. And then prior to that, I was with Silicon Graphics for 6 years, uh, where I worked on high-end graphics and video and the CC Num architectures. So when I say high-end graphics and video, when you see Bugs Bunny play with Michael Jordan those days, or Independence Day or Jurassic Park, the microcode that blends Michael Jordan with Bugs Bunny or Jurassic Park or any of those, these are all movies that were made on SGI machines, and I wrote significant portions of the microcode for the company at that point of time. So that's my quick trace. Happy to basically hand it over to you, Manisha, for the next set of questions, or however we want to get this proceeding.
Thanks for sharing, a bit about yourself, Mohan. I must say it's been a very interesting journey, specifically on Magnit, and that's my next question to you. Could you give the participants more details about Magnit as a company and what the candidates can expect from the organization?
All right, I'm happy to do that. And in fact, this kind of question is, in fact, since I'm new to Magnet, this also basically is an interesting way for me to basically look at it, because I'm going to share why I joined Magnet and what is Magnet. Before I answer that question, through the comment section, how many people know what about Magnet prior to this engagement? I would love to see a show of hands. Anybody on the comments call section? None. Guys, we are going to be in a hackathon. We need to be a little bit more communicative. All right. Seems like it's not much, many people who have heard about Magnet. Uh, so here are some numbers I'm going to share with you. And then we will talk about what is the vision for the company that I have and why you should be so enthused uh, in basically an opportunity to join us. Uh, so today, if you look at what Magnet is, we are a workforce management company, and specifically for the contingent workforce. Right? This doesn't mean that that's the only market we look at, but that's where we are today looking at. But we see on the horizon a lot more possibilities, and I'll explain a little bit more as to what that means. So, first data I would like to share with you is 75% of the world's workforce is contingent. That's what shapes the global economy, if you look at it, right? The contingent workforce, how healthy it is, and how that functions is predominantly a major portion of how we basically produce products and put them into the market. uh, this is news to me. If you look at my resume, as I shared with you, a lot of different things, but not necessarily in this market, although I've used consultants in every of my companies that I've been at. So, second data point I would want to give you is today, Magnet moves. When I say it moves, is we are engaged in every year more than $25 billion of money through our transactions with our customers. So we have four major sectors that we basically embark on and we focus on. First is the technology sector. I don't have to describe more as to what the technology sector is. It's all of us in the call plus more working in this focused areas of technology. And another 20-25% is basically medical industry, right? And the third one is basically heavy machine industry, automotive, and all this stuff. And the rest 25% is miscellaneous. It consists of everything else. So of the 25 billion plus that we move per year, we bring in close to $700 million in revenue. So we are a very big startup. We are private equity held company, but you can see the size, right? And if you basically look at the tech sector, which is something that you guys might be more familiar with, companies like Google, Facebook, they're all our customers, right? Apple is our customer. It's a long list, but I'm just giving you the marquee names such that you are able to associate with it faster. Similarly, in the medical industry, we have the top medical companies like Sutter, Kaiser, so forth, be our customers. If I look at the heavy machine industry, Ford is our customer, GM is our customer, So again, we have all these marquee companies that are customers, and the best part of this business is there's so much to do. It is a very nascent industry if you look at it. And what I mean by nascent is, if you look at even times today, right? I'll just give you a quick idea of how contingent workforce grew, and then how workforce management, which is much more generic a field, has been, and what it needs to move to. And once you get this picture, you'll understand, how big the opportunity is, then more than what I already stated, right? Which is moving $25 billion worth of money in revenue per year, growing very significantly at a very healthy rate. So if I basically look at the contingent workforce market space, right? If you look at even the Wipros and the Infosys of the world, where they place a lot of people and basically help companies forge progress that way. Traditionally, and how it is done is basically say 10 people are placed in an area at a company client's site. There's a project manager who basically manages these people, and that information flows back and forth between that and the head office. If there are any more you know uh, additions in terms of resources that have to be made or adjustments that have to be made, and slowly this thing evolved into kind of a platform of small software that manages that in terms of time card entry and things of sort. So it is very reactive way of how what we call as vendor management systems evolved, right? So it's basically uh, customers telling, hey, I would like this feature on this vendor management system software. And what does this VMS software mean? It means all the way from a client coming to us to say, hey, I need 100 positions in this area. Say if it's Google, we take that and basically parlay that to a bunch of sources across the globe, and then based on that, we basically uh, auto pattern match all the resumes to see the relevance of job descriptions, and then we filter it to a certain amount of resumes, and then from the back end we basically do the pre-screening, and then from there it goes to the actual client. Once the client, in this case, in this example, Google, they say, yeah, I like this, 15 candidates. We onboard them onto our platform, and then all the payroll, everything else basically happens through us. The worker, in this case, the person who's a consultant, is basically dealing with Magnit, and Magnit is the platform they use. So the platform is a whole list of software that basically is used from the client basically giving us a job description. So all through our software, we call it as a VMS, as I said, to the worker coming in, through suppliers or directly to us basically, screening those resumes, putting them back to the client, and then basically onboarding the employee with respect to everything that a traditional onboarding happens, including background checks and all that stuff, right? So there are many facets. It's an end-to-end solution that we provide that we call as VMS. Now, given the summary of what I said there is basically it tends to be a very reactive evolution, right? And let me put another aspect to this. If you look at today, the workforce management itself, which is not only contingent but permanent, there are big changes happening in the industry. So if you look at any workforce management platform today, right, it tends to be very hierarchical. What do I mean by that? When I say hierarchical, guys, it means that typically a workforce management platform, which is an HR platform, right? The supervisor or the manager is using that software or that service to basically enter salary details of an employee when they are basically hiring, and then thereon it is promotions, approvals of PTO or pay raises and things of sort. So it's very hierarchical. It's the supervisor giving some information on their team members, his or her team member, to basically uh, uh, specify certain aspects of what the team member or worker in this case gets, right? But let's look at what the industry is moving to. The industry is moving to a very 360-degree view of a person, right? Whether it's an worker or the manager herself or himself, or peer, right? So gone are the days of this hierarchical implementation. Today, when we use agile processes, which is not only limited to tech force, this is used in the healthcare industry and the heavy machine industry and all the industries. There's more data that needs to be flowing bottom up than top down. right? Actually, the meaningful data that we unearth is actually going bottom up. None of these platforms that we have basically cater to that. And here we are at Magnet, who basically, we are beginning to basically say, like, no, no, that doesn't make sense. We need to get a platform which is a lot more meshed in nature than what we have today. What does this mean to a software developer, which is what you should be asking? What it means is, traditionally, for example, if you have a worker today, we have screens which basically the worker comes and says, hey, you know what, I've joined, I'm servicing this client, here are my weekly hours that I've put in, and then there's hourly rate, and we basically multiply that, and then that's the amount of money that the worker gets paid. But what if we chose to basically expand this platform to say, like, hey, worker, you're a part of the Magnet family. I know, for example, if there's a technology worker who's working on, say, Java, here are the next opportunities of learnings that you can do to enhance your career to the next level, right? And then they use this platform to do this learning and development, which we do through a lot of partnerships and things of sort. We certify that worker, and the next time when the next contract comes for the worker, whether it's an extension or something else, we are the guiding platform to the worker to go to the next levels, right? And similarly, for example, on the client side, the worker also gets to give feedback to the client as to how they perceive working within the client organization and things of sort, which gives a lot more equality and inclusion for those workers, which is what today companies are basically uh, evaluated based on. It's just not the numbers of what the revenue we make. It's good that the industry is now moving into DEI numbers, which is diversity, equality, and inclusion, and things of sort. And we can be the platform to basically share with our clients as to where their numbers are. Not only that, through the feedback, we can basically provide conclusivity to the customers to say, like, what can they do to better manage the people and better integrate those people in. So that's the vision. And the summary of the vision is, we Magnet, we see ourselves as a bridge between the workforce that is available, whether it is contingent or permanent or whatever, into the basically the requirements of different clients into the industry, in being a bridge for a overall progression of a community and just not a worker. So we basically, our vision is to be the community platform that helps workforce progress in a healthy and happy manner overall. And that's why the word community is very important to us. So, and if you look at today, the leaders of different verticals, if you look at it, they're all just not basically selling a product. That used to be 20 years back. And a decade back, this theme became solutions. Like, hey, it's not enough to just have a product, but you need to have an end-to-end solution, right? But if you look at today's time, the marquee companies that come up and become, the beacon for their vertical, they're all companies that talk about communities. And here we are at Magnet in our vertical, which is workforce management. We talk about a community, right? So you can see, like, why I am excited about what Magnet is into. And in terms of technology, you know, name it, we have it there. And, we are at a cusp of basically undertaking some things that just breaks us away with anybody else who is in the name of competition. Why do I say this? I talked to you about how the user interfaces could be more interactive uh, when we provide a community platform where the worker is just not entering data in terms of hours, but there are tabs that talk about, hey, what about this course you can do? You can enhance yourself. By the way, if the worker has a question, they basically press a tab, and people who are working in the same sector as part of our platform, they are available to the worker to answer any questions she or he might have, right? So one part is basically the UI and the things that we do, which are more interactive. So the platform becomes more as an assistant to the worker to further their career. On the flip side, we also basically take the data that is enormous. You think about the Facebooks of the world and the LinkedIn's of the world. They're dealing with data. Facebook, for example, is dealing with data like, hey, I had coffee at this time in the morning. Not very relevant to overall progress of an economy. But think about what data we have. The data that we have is the earnings of people. How often do they like to be paid, whether it is weekly, daily, right? Gives you an idea of the spending and what the quality of life that they have, which is much more relevant to the economies of the world, the global economy, than what we see with Facebooks and other companies. So, what I mean to say with all this is the data that we handle today is very precious. And as part of the vision, we are looking at ways to unearth and use the data into information and knowledge that might help the overall confluence of the community that we are creating, right? So, what this all amounts to in terms of technology is we have an user interface, which basically is today either Angular or React. Uh, then we basically have a backend which processes all this knowledge we have as part of the backend. Uh, Lots of business logic that goes into it, right? And Java is the one of the main means of doing it. We have assimilated a bunch of companies, so we have multiple other languages that we use today, but we want to assimilate it all into one singular kind of pathway for to begin with, if I might say so. And then there are databases, right? And then there is basically the uh, you know uh, AI and ML systems that basically are trying to basically take this voluminous large scale data that we get and translate that to information and knowledge. So if you look at it from an overall perspective, there is no technology that is used by any other marquee companies that is basically catering to large scale clients that we don't use. We use everything from the application perspective, UI, UX, to data ingestion, to databases, to reporting, to business intelligence, to analytics, to predictive analytics, and backend uh, display, right, of the data like dashboards and things of sort. The whole 9 yards is used. As if this is not enough, if you talk about the other aspects of it, what we are undertaking is basically now taking all this several assimilations that we've had and put them into uh, a distributed computing model. We are planning to have workloads with respect to Kubernetes, load balancers. You name all of those technologies, right? The edge computing, we have all that too. So, if you are basically participating in this hackathon, what it means for you to be a part of Magnit is that you are at the cusp of a company that is basically going to be evolving on each of those dimensions. There are companies out there which have already achieved this, but here is an opportunity for you to work on the latest and greatest technologies, grow yourself in terms of knowledge quotient and the productivity, and being involved with the latest and greatest technologies to provide a end-to-end community platform that basically is a needle mover to the overall global society, right? And that's why I'm enthused to be a part of Magnet.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Mohan. And it certainly sounds like a very interesting space to be in. And I do have a related question to it, and also specifically on the Hack and Grow that we are running. The theme for Hack and Grow is innovate for the evolution of work. And this was derived from the Magnet's tagline. So, could you tell us a little bit more about Magnet's commitment to innovation for the evolution of work?
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, I had basically kind of brushed upon this just with the previous elaborate response I gave, and Manisha, which is basically if you look at today how this workforce management has grown, it is basically pretty reactive. But if we look at some of the industries that have basically catapulted themselves and made a huge community impact, take Apple for example. Absolutely, we want to respect what the needs of the customers are. Customer needs are tantamount and fundamental. But it also is a place in our evolution where we see an opportunity for us to go back to the customer and say, this is what you actually need, also, right? Customer doesn't have an idea of what they're missing sometimes. And in a field like, workforce, sometimes it can be an afterthought. But we want to be now in a position to basically innovate and evolve where we wow our customers through all those things that we basically deploy and make it presentable to the customers, available to the customers. And a parallel I would draw is look at the phone industry. 2 decades back, who knew what a smartphone was? Nobody knew, right? We basically had this clunky devices with disturbed voices that would come even though the voice at the speaker was clear. uh, it changed all that. Now today, can you imagine a life without your smartphone at your hand? Impossible. Like, you use it for maps, you use it for shopping, you use it for information. Your existence depends on that, correct? Why did that revolution happen? Because somebody named Steve Jobs and Wozniak and those guys understood that it's more Steve Jobs by the time Wozniak probably was not there. Understood that they had a revolutionary product and they wanted to go to the customer and say like, this is what you need. So we are in the same kind of thought process where we say like, hey, here we are in the reactionary industry where customers think what they need and we respect that. But there's a huge opportunity to basically bring upon the community platform that I talked about, which needs the comeuppance of all those technologies to be integrated and evolved in providing one platform to the community. So this is not going to be accomplished without lots of innovation in different areas, and we are very excited to basically say that uh, we look for young, fresh talent, and the culture that we have at Magnet is that of may the best idea win, and every idea is important because ideas at the end of the day are what makes products and solutions and platforms, and we completely acknowledge and are aligned with that culture and thought process. So what it means to be part of this family is to come in with your fresh thoughts and ideas and basically say, hey, what if our goals are very ambitious, right? And the good news is this, guys. Many times, when you look at innovative opportunities, you don't know where they go, right? In terms of business, you might have a great brilliant idea, but the application that of that in a business is might be lukewarm or even diluted, right? Such that it doesn't see the end of the light. But here we are with already a $700 million worth of business that is expanding at a healthy rate. And I told you, like, the potency of it in terms of 75% of the world's workforce is contingent, which is only growing. And this is, again, I'm just basically saying contingent because there's a market we are focused on and nothing stops us from going into broader markets. And all those markets that we basically have our eyesights on, they require a lot of development which are at a fundamental level, right? I talked about hierarchical versus now a meshed kind of deployment. What it means is we just don't have a VMS platform, we have a mini CRM there, we have a mini you know mini web scraping technology there, we have a robust AI and ML learning platforms out there which basically provide conclusivity and predictiveness into it. All of this are needed to basically take us to where we think we need to go.
Thanks for sharing that, Mohan. And you have, in a way, also covered part of my next question. But could you also probably give us specifics on this specific role, which is of Java full stack developer, which Magnet is trying to hire via this hackathon?
So when we say a full stack developer, right, I basically you know I'm alluding to a person who can basically go do a UI which is going to be very different from what the rest of the industry looks at, which is an interactive UI platform. And then if I look at the back end, which is where the Java thing comes in, is basically look at you know uh, all the implementations at the back end that needs to be in place for us to consume that data in a scalable, flexible manner, and basically have it reported in the ways it makes sense to the respective consumers of the data. And when I say the respective consumers of the data, our consumers themselves have four viewpoints. One is the worker, who is basically the person who brings her and or his skills onto the table, on the table, right? Then there is a client aspect where this our basically workers through us go and bring their services and basically accomplish whatever the client wants. So that's a client view. So there's a worker view, there's a client view. Then there is basically an MSP view. Our software is also basically onboarded by people who service those kind of people, the back-end people of operations, right? It's called MSP. And then the fourth view is the supplier, who are basically hundreds and thousands of suppliers who deal with these resumes and work with us, use our platform to basically get what the job descriptions are, and then basically fulfill that in terms of resumes. So there are four views of this. So when I say data, it might say, oh yeah, man, it's a person's name and it's basically what the experience and all. No, it's more than that, right? It's what viewer you are in and how you want to collate it and what are the data sets you want to unearth based on all this. So we deal with lots of aspects of a person, their education, their experience, right? For example, some of the things that we do for our clients is, if a client has to basically say, like, I need 10 positions, we provide them abilities for them to look at, hey, what is the cost if I had to basically, get these people in New York versus California versus, some other part of the world. What is my average cost to this? Oh, by the way, what is the availability of those resources in this area today? So we scrape, and we work with lots of our partners to bring all this relevant data, right? Which is actually data turned into information and knowledge back to our customers so that they can make healthy, fruitful decisions that are basically in align with their business needs, right? So, uh, to me, a full stack developer who joins Magnit is basically a part of our end to end solution providing as a platform. And they basically look at the latest and the greatest, hottest problem after they have basically, successfully helped us with uh, accomplishing the solution that they were working on before. So to me, this is an opportunity where we want engineers who are wanting to be a broad set talent, with a curious mind, willingness to learn and produce, and the challenges that they want to challenge themselves. Engineers do best when they have challenge within themselves. Hey, I've not done this before. Do I think I can do it? When that mindset happens in an engineer, that's when creativity blossoms. And those are the kind of people we want to be part of our family. Monisha, you are muted. I cannot hear you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you so much, Mohan. And in case anybody wants to ask any questions, please do feel free to put it in the chat. Uh, all right, coming back. So, Mohan, thanks for sharing that. And, you broadly also covered the main purpose of why Magnet is hiring via this hackathon. But do you have any words of encouragement for the participants who are attending this session and will go through the hackathon?
Absolutely. So I will take it a little bit even further. Thanks for this question, Monisha. Definitely, I have lots of word for encouragement, and I would love to share that. I've been in the industry for 3+ decades, and you know, whatever experiences I've garnered, I would love to summarize such that it is an imprint and a blueprint for you guys uh, to take it and blossom your careers to levels which are basically noteworthy. Uh, before uh, you know go into those words, I would want to also say this, that you know if you look at the industry today, there is lots of applications that come in. And if you look at Gartner's latest report, which said, like, how are we going to be functioning, like, 3 decades back when I started, we used to basically, pretty much I started with punch card systems, right? And then it turned into C, assembly, microcode, and then C and C++, Java. Today, companies that have gained speed and leverage are the companies which basically use multiple of services and stitch them together to a workflow, right? To provide a solution. We have an opportunity to be a little bit more than that, right? I hope through what I've described earlier, that becomes clear. I would say this hallmark of a great engineer is they understand how things are put together and do it once and it works forever, right? A novice or an amateur basically tries to put everything together, and if the constellations all are in good terms, maybe you hit upon something that is working. But we want to basically have that ability to basically, uh, proof of concept something, rinse and repeat it, and make it into a product, right? So if you had to fail fast. We love failures, because failures close the doors that are not useful, and basically reduce the sample set. All this I say is, the reason I say all this is, at the end of the day, ideas are what are worth their weight in gold. Any idea that comes out is useful. Do not ever hold yourself back or basically limit your voice because you think that, maybe it's not right. Even Einstein, who basically did all this, his dying words were, all I want to know if I was right, right? So the doubt exists in all of us. But the culture that we want to provide, and the culture you always should seek, whether it is Magnet or any other company, guys, is an environment that lets you, express your voice, your ideas, and see, how far that goes. Maybe it goes some distance, maybe it doesn't go some distance. And then there is another idea, then there is another idea, right? The ability to basically provide you a platform that helps you spread your wings and soar to heights that you didn't know existed. That's what a career is, that's what your future should be, right? So I would say this: in any endeavor that you do, the biggest investment you make is investment of your time and effort. Value that, because there's no parallel to that. We try to basically commensurate that with the money we make and things of sort, but investment of money is far lesser than investment of time and effort. And that effort I talk about is the investment of thought process, right? So know that you have gone through schooling and you've had your experience. You bring a lot of experience to the table. What it means is you're bringing yourself in terms of your thought and time to the table. And we at Magnet, we value that a lot.
That's really beautifully said, Mohan. Thanks so much for putting it in those words. I would want to now look at a few questions that are coming up in chat, and we do have some time. So, if we can take that up. So, Muhammad Tariq Alam is asking if this company is new in India.
So, Mohammed, great question. First of all, glad to meet you, and thanks for asking the question. So, no, in fact, we've been there for almost a decade plus. Magnet is not a new company; it's a brand name. It was known by the name Pro Unlimited, and through other assimilations that we had, we basically, assimilated all of them into the new name of Magnet, and we have a main headquarters in India at Vadodara. It's a state of the art complex. In fact, I was just there. I just returned back from India 2 days back after a 2 week trip, and it's an amazing facility. And we are also basically now expanding ourselves into Bangalore to put one of our more development centers there. And the new world of remoteness that we talk about, we have people in different part of India from Assam to Kanyakumari who are part of our team actually, right? You might not have heard about Magnet because we don't sell our services as a business in India yet. But if you talk about development centers, we absolutely have been. And uh, for us, as we set our vision and embark on our, uh, you know, uh, new path of accomplishing that, doing away with hierarchical implementation and having a holistic community platform, you would hear more and more from us, of us in India, uh, uh, through all these efforts, whether it be hackathon or some other events that happen. We have, 800% of office in Vadodara, for your information. So we're not small by any means. We are big, but now we want to get bigger, and we want to be. Our ambitions are to be the marquee platform in this sector that provides a differentiation for the broad community, which includes workers, clients, and every other ecosystem that comes as part of it.
Thanks, Mohan. Uh, the next question is from Ram, who is asking what would be the focus points for the developer trying to implement the hackathon idea?
So, guys, I would say this: whatever you're passionate about, put your you know hand and mind onto that. Don't restrict yourself. you know Hackathons, in my mind, are an opportunity for you to basically express your thought process in any area that you're passionate about. If you basically had to basically draw out something from me, hey, you know what, do it in the workforce management area. What are the end-to-end workflows that we have based on what I shared with you, which is from the client to the worker to the supplier to the payroll to the background to the basically the dashboards of intelligence, which where we basically provide conclusivity and things of sort. Be our guest. Embark on any of these areas. But if you have an idea that you feel like, hey, you know what, I have passion in this area, and for me, the hackathon is a means to understand how you think and how you basically translate that thinking into a, a basically service, if I might say so. And one of the questions I saw in the comment section already when I see it is, hey, uh, uh, is it necessary to put comments in the code? Yes, please do. Like, it helps us understand how you basically think. you know when you talk about basically implementing, right, it's an art. So put some such that it also tells you how you think and things of sort. And then uh, absolutely, we love open source software. uh, Having said that, we also want to basically adopt things that have been in the market for uh, reasonable amount of time such that they have stability. And one of the questions was, hey, through this code, do you want to show scale? Not necessary. We know hackathons are short events of translating a thought into a viable kind of a thing, right? And is scale the most important thing? If you can show it, good. But is that the only means? Not at all. Not
Thanks,
on a
Mohan.
hackathon.
Yeah. Thank you, Mohan. We do have a question which says that do I have to send my GitHub submission link via email? The answer to that is no. You will receive an email tomorrow with a Google form for submission. It will be a simple form with checkboxes to make sure that you've submitted all components required according to the submission guidelines. It will also have a section where you can put the URL for your GitHub repository. Okay, so I think you had covered quite a few questions here, Mohan, already. Uh, do we also need to prepare a documentation of the project? Answer is yes. You do need to submit a 3-minute demo video. You just have to make a screen recording while scrolling through the code, and you'll have, and I mean, while explaining it wherever you feel necessary. So please record a demo of your project and upload it to YouTube or Vimeo and share the URL. Alternatively, you can also submit a presentation explaining the code and the submission, and this could include screenshots or visuals along with the comments to explain. I hope that answers your question there. Is there any particular programming language preferred over others?
you know the first answer is no. you know you know to me, a language is a means to translate your thoughts into something viable, and we are more fixated on what your thought process is rather than proficiency of language. But having said that, uh, you know our implementation backend is we are looking at Java as a mainstream, but then we are going into service architecture. Once we basically accomplish the service architecture, which is a microservice architecture, which is workloads, what is a language within? Do we care? No. So you can use whatever language comes naturally to you.
Okay. So I think those were some of the questions here. In case you all have any further questions, the Slack channel is anyways available where we have Magnit's tech mentors there, and they're available to answer your questions. Okay, we do have one last question, which I think I will take. Uh, so there is, so Sainath is checking, are we free to choose any tech stack, that is Angular or Java for development, or it should be completely using Java as mentioned in tech guidelines, both UI and backend?
So guys, I would say like use whatever you feel you know comfortable with. Uh, that should not be an issue. But when you use a language, also basically use it in a way that shows your proficiency of translating your thought into some implementation, which is reasonably challenging, right? We want to see how you use the constructs and things of sort. Language versus one is not an issue. The stack that you use, absolutely be feel free. Uh, should not be an issue. Uh, our guideline is more of a generic pointer, but if you have something which is really neat and solves a relevant problem for us, uh, and we see value in it, and we see how elegantly it is translated from thought ideation to an implementation, that's what we're looking for.
Thank you, Mohan. All right, then. I think these were some of the questions which we could address in the session, and I'm sure there are lots more that will keep coming to your minds. And let's keep the channels open via the Slack channel as well, or feel free to approach us directly as well. Uh, in terms of just reiterating the guidelines once again, please do join the Slack channel, and you have received the mail both via mail as well as WhatsApp. Uh, don't start coding before 19th of January, and you will receive an email tomorrow with the submission form. So please do make note of it, as you would need to submit it on the GitHub link along with your code through this Google form. And you will need to submit your solutions latest by 20th of January, end of day. All relevant hackathon details are there on the hackathon registration page, and this includes the problem statement, submission, and tech guidelines. Please go through all the instructions thoroughly. And the problem statement has, which was not there earlier, is clear, is very much available now on the landing page. So please put your thinking caps on. So those were some of the general guidelines that I wanted to reiterate. It's been a lovely session with you, Mohan. Thank you so much for taking out time so early in the morning to address all these queries. And we will be circulating this recording as well amongst all the people who've registered for the hackathon. Thank you very much, all of you. Thanks for joining in. And
Thanks, team.
thanks
Thank
once
you.
again.
Thank you. And, look forward to this wonderful journey. Uh, you know, I know this hackathon, enjoy it completely because it's an expression of our ideas, free expression of ideas to any field that you are passionate about. And wish you all the luck, all the fun, and look forward to working with some of you, as you become part of the Magnet family. It's a great time to be at Magnet, and we are waiting for you with open arms. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All the best, everyone.